Thank you very much for taking this time and coming and talking to us. So before we start, can you tell us about yourself, who you are, how long you have been working with the office?
So my name is Margarita Källo and I'm a head of Estonian Language House in Tallinn, and I arrange all these activities.
Okay, right. So you are heading this center in Tallinn, and you are in charge of handling all the activities, the language programs or other activities that participants are involved into learning the language, right?
Yes. Well, I can't say that I'm the only one who is
Yeah.
in charge of that, because we have colleagues who are putting together the programs for the classical language courses. But to make interact all these parts, the courses, those activities, people, and so on and so forth. So I'm the one who put all the picture together.
Okay, right. So what kind of programs the institution is offering at the moment? So you can tell us about the language program and the classical programs that you mentioned. So if you can talk more about those.
So if you new arrival, first of all, you should come and put yourself and book time for our counselors who would talk to you and discuss which are your goals, for how long have you been staying, for how long you're planning to stay here, and what do you need, your motivation. So to kind of to show you the path how you should go on with your language development, they should ask some questions about the person. So first of all they make the mapping of the person, and then they can already tell you what program you should take, because the Integration Foundation and this Estonian Language House is not the only place which provides courses. So maybe you need specifically courses for your job, and that exam is also required, so you can get the papers that you reached some level. In that case, we would rather send you to Töötukassa.
Okay. Yeah.
Because they provide that kind of language courses where the exam is required.
Okay.
For us, it's not mandatory. People are free to come here if they would like to kind of learn language for themselves, so they can feel themselves better involved in society processes, so they can feel themselves more freely living here and participating in Estonian culture, Estonian life, and so on. So we are not asking to take any exams after people finish our courses.
Okay.
They are for free for everybody, and they are kind of the free will of the person. So there is a lot of responsibility which a person still needs to kind of take care of. I mean that it's his responsibility to be able to go through the whole course, because if he drop out, he will not be able anymore to come to the same level to study again, because it's for free, and there is a so big need for that, and so many people would like to come. So there are some kind of restricting rules here, but actually we are open for everybody, because in every institution there are some limits. Töötukassa is concentrating on the people who need the language to develop their language skills to improve in their work or get better place or career, and there are some other places as well, but the people can come to us without not any particular reason, just to be part of Estonian society.
Okay, so if I understand it correctly, anyone who wants to learn the language without any strings attached or without any conditions or anything else, they can come here and then get registered, but at the same time your counselor will talk to them identify what level they are at and then find the right programs for them, right?
Yes.
Okay, and the language house here in Tallinn, this one is offering programs from A1 onwards, or is a particular level you start at?
Well, A1 is also provided here as well. Actually, we are really closely, we have been working all the time with Settle in Estonia in this matter. And actually that same program will continue under Integration Foundation's roof starting from the next year.
Okay.
But we prefer to register people still through this Settle in Estonia program, because then we can get a better database about these people, because we have our own database, and because our courses are free of charge. And when the courses will start, we will make an open registration, and then people can register themselves also through Integration Foundation site. But then if they do it by themselves, without this counseling, which I was telling earlier, we have so limited amount of information about the person, we cannot in the future anymore communicate to these kind of clients if they register themselves through the internet site. But if they came to our counseling and we discuss the learning path, and we have some events which would be interesting for those people, well, actually quite often all the places are filled quite fast. But if there are still open places, then we can, and there are people in our database, then we can send invitations to them.
Okay, right.
And so in that case, in that matter, we really appreciate if people would come to discuss the needs and motivation and goals, first of all, to our counselors.
Okay, so you would say that you would still encourage whoever wants to learn the language to go to Settle in Estonia for A1 or maybe A2, and then come to you when they want to go into B1 onwards, because if I believe Settle in Estonia offers A1 and A2 there. Right? And then from B1 onwards, they can start with Tallinn also. Language. Okay, makes sense.
Yes, actually there are also some differences for those people who came 5 years ago, earlier or later, but exactly for that reason I would really say that first of all the counseling would be the right place, so you discuss all these details, and then they can already give you advice that should you go and register yourself through the Settle in Estonia, or is it already too late for you? Maybe you were staying in Estonia already for more than 5 years, then it's not working anymore for those people. So only our courses which we provide is available for those people who are staying in Estonia for a longer period than 5 years.
Okay, so let's say I came here 3 years ago.
Yes.
I have done till A2, so I have to go for B1 now, right?
Yeah.
So I can come here and still there would be a program matched for me that I can start, right?
Yes. It will not be through the Settle in Estonia, but actually those rules are also changing. Maybe in the further period they will provide also B1 courses. But it doesn't matter. Actually, that's the point. As a client, for you, it's not. You are not interested in those technical details and which kind of programs we have and which officials put some limits to one or other program. So you come to the counseling, and our counselors know all the information about these programs. So you describe your situation, and you just explain that when you came, what's your goals, and they will show you which is the best program for you. But definitely there should be some program.
Yeah, so let's talk about the programs at B1 level and onwards, right? Because that's your language house is the best place for those. So how many programs are offered in each year, or how many batches you take each year?
Well, 2022 we had altogether like 960 students during all period, and actually we are not limiting us with this B1 or B2. Actually, we need to be able to provide, to fulfill those gaps which are coming from other programs with other language levels as well. So actually in our house we have from A1 to B2 programs.
And you said last year or in 2022 you have almost 1,000 students in different programs, right? So what is the minimum batch size that you take for each program?
So in our classes we have 16 students at once.
One time.
Yeah, 16.
All right. So I'm sure that even after helping 1,000 students in 2022, there are still many students who couldn't get into these batches. So what are your plans to increasing of number of batches and taking in more students in 2023?
These places and benches, or as you said, in our courses, they are limited with those resources which we get from the Ministry of Culture. So unfortunately we can only provide those as much courses as we are required from the Minister of Culture. And of course there is some funding and some other grounds behind, but actually because the classical courses, it's not the only way to learn language actually. And we have a lot of different kinds of activities in our houses which are not classical language lessons or courses. We have a lot of events which are meant for those students who would like to study independently and then to practice language. So we, for example, for the beginners, we have the cooking classes. So they do something together, and through that they learn language, and they are kind of all together and allowed to speak only Estonian. And so that's kind of create the small community where they are they can open up themselves and speak more freely to each other. And of course there is some teacher who are directing the process. And we also have in the same class, we have film clubs where people gather together to see Estonian films with Estonian subtitles, and they have some papers what they should fill in gaps, for example, and they have discussions about the film. So from one side they learn the language, they can hear the correct Estonian language, then they also can get to know Estonian directors or actors, which is also part of the culture, and then they can practice with each other. And we go, for example, we make language camps during summertime, and these camps are really popular. Unfortunately, there's always a limited amount of places in that kind of projects, but they're really kind of efficient, because people go to that language environment. They normally are somewhere on the islands, for example, Saaremaa or Hiiumaa, and this immersion into environment, and all the time they're really intensive language learning, and people are really happy about that. We have also that kind of program as a language friend. If you, I don't know if you heard about that, but when the pandemic started, and we realized that it's not anymore so even possible to come together and communicate, we created the platform. It started only with 20 people and grew to 900. On one side there are language learners, or those who would like to practice, and on the other side there are Estonians. And we put them into pairs, and they communicate with each other a couple times a week through Messenger or Zoom or whatever. And even though today we don't have anymore that kind of lockdowns and that kind of problems with pandemia, but still the program goes on because people realize that it's really convenient. The main thing and problem with language learning is the system, that you just need to make a plan and stick to the plan. You shouldn't give up even for 1 week.
No, I really like this structure that you have, because with the activities that you mentioned, like the cooking, right? Because I think in that activity, students are being put into an environment where they have to use these things, and they also learn to get their names, their local names, and that helps to build up their vocabulary. And with the movie activity that you said, obviously you're helping them to build up their listening skills in Estonian as well.
Yes.
So I really like it. But you said about these events, like the Sarima thing and the Huma trips. Okay, so how many trips you do this in a year, or how many students are able to go in these trips?
They are like events which will be soon actually announced in our internet page site. So you could go and check them there in January already. We're now preparing the program, and something like 3 to 5, 6 trips during summer, because it's the only time when it's nice weather, and it would be nice to travel somewhere. Yes, and maybe 20 people could be involved in one trip.
Okay, so around 100 students every year get this opportunity to take part in this. Cool. And you mentioned in the beginning that you have a center in Narva. So there are only 2 centers at the moment, one in Tallinn and one in Narva?
Yes, we have 2 centers, but we have also our representatives in Paldiski and also in Lüganuse. Because we can see that these regions also have, let's say, need for additional language learning, and of course in future there may be even more of our representatives. We wouldn't like to invest any more money into the bricks, but the main idea is to invest into the people and activities. So we wouldn't make any more houses anywhere, but we can, maybe there will be more representatives in the future. Not in 2023, but I don't know, maybe a little bit further future.
Okay, right. So now let's talk about the programs that are coming next year, right? So first, what is the main criteria if someone wants to get into B1? So as you said, talk to the counselors, they'll figure it out. But at the same time, do you want these students to have A2 passed already, or let's say they have passed A1 but they have a good speaking skill, maybe talking to Estonian friends, or what is the main criteria you look at in?
Because we are not requiring for any exams after our courses. We are not requiring any documents which would confirm that your language skills is A1 or A2 or B1 or whatever. It's important that you are really that you evaluate your skills kind of adequate. Because if you say that my skill is A2 or B1 and you're hardly A1, then it would be difficult to offer a good learning opportunities for you. So it's important that we are realistic, and but we are not requiring any papers. So it's just your evaluation of your skills.
Okay, right. And in your classes at the moment, they are mostly in person, or there are some in person, some over Zoom? How is it happening at the moment?
Well, we have some courses over Zoom as well, but there are not so much of those because people really, I don't know, maybe it's because of the pandemic kept people apart for so long that people would like to come together. And if we say about language learning, then A1, A2, because your vocabulary is so limited.
Yeah.
Normally, the students most likely are using kind of body language and trying to express themselves with all the means what they have. And if it's just Zoom and just your head, there is not so many means to express yourself if the words are limited, the vocabulary is limited. So A1 or A2, I would actually encourage people to come to the classes still, but actually for them, furthermore, it is possible to learn quite successfully through the Zoom or whatever other platform. Other thing is that some teachers prefer also the contact lessons, because they feel themselves also more comfortable to kind of see the whole person, not only the head on the screen.
Okay.
And maybe it's a little bit more efficient, but it's really depend on the teacher and students, because there are students to whom it really suits and it's totally okay for them just to sit behind the screen, and on those who are totally incapable of doing that language learning through the Zoom. Okay. But maybe it's something I would like to mention, because we've heard that a lot of people who work and they are during daytime, they're really busy, and maybe it would be nice to provide some kind of events which would be online, and so person doesn't need to stand up and drive somewhere or go somewhere and spend his or her time on that trip. We have a really nice event. Its name is Mangula. Okay. It's coming every week online. Okay. There are two groups. One is for A2, B1, and another one is a little bit more advanced, B1, B2. And it's 1 hour of online games which are developing the speech kind of capability.
Okay, and how do one register for these events?
We have, if you go to our site, and there is a calendar. Yeah. So you open the event, and then there is a form for registrations. It goes straight to our database, and you can register through that.
Okay, so I'm going to leave the link on somewhere in the description, so you can just register through that. And also I want to understand, like, in these classes, how many days a week these classes are running, and what is the actual time of these classes, like 2 hours, 3 hours, how long are the classes?
Well, if we're talking about this classical language courses, it's 2 times a week, 3 academical hour per time.
Okay.
So it's
6 hours a week?
Yes, 6 hours a
week. And how long is the whole course that goes for?
So it normally starts in September and ends at the end of January, and then another part starts at the beginning of February and ends before the midsummer celebration.
Okay. So around 4 months, 3.5 to 4 months?
Yeah, 4.5.
Okay, around 4 months.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So again, all the information is available on your website.
Yes.
So we can go there and register ourselves or find information.
Yes.
And then if the dates are available, then reach out to your counselors, talk to them, and then get registered.
Yes. Actually, you don't even need our schedule. You can just call 800-9999.
Okay.
And there will be our counselors answering, and you can just book the time to the counselor.
Right.
And then you can discuss all the opportunities already through this counselor.
Okay, so at the moment, if I want to go for B1, so I can call them like this week, and then start getting information, and maybe get registered in the February program.
Yes.
At whatever the levels I'm at. Okay. Yes. That's really helpful. Cool. Anything else you want to add or inform us that I may have missed asking about?
There is one thing which we are planning for the next season, and we would like to develop some kind of course for or event, how would you say it? We don't know yet, but we are kind of in the process of developing. Now it's just an idea, kind of the course for those who would like to study independently at home, but need some guidance sometimes. So we kind of arrange some meetings from time to time, and in between, person supposed to study independently, because actually Integration Foundation through the years have been developing all kinds of videos and self-learning programs, and there is a book for independent language learning, Estonian language learning, and we are just thinking that how to combine all this knowledge. So because we know that there is not enough teachers.
Yeah.
That's the problem in Estonia. There is not enough teachers, not for adults, not for the kids. So there's we cannot take them from the ear.
Yeah.
So that's why we really think that how else can we help for people to develop their language skills, even though we know that there is not enough teachers.
Yeah.
So maybe that is something, but it really needs some discipline from the people.
Yeah.
And in this language learning, I think that the basic and the most important thing is the motivation.
Yeah.
Actually, if there is no motivation, then it doesn't matter how good is the teacher or how well the course is planned. If you are not motivated, you will not learn anything.
Yeah.
And in the other way around, if you are really motivated, even if they're lacking the teachers and programs and whatever, if there are some help, it is possible to develop your language skills independently. And actually in Tallinn, it's not even so difficult. I would say that our Narva clients are in much more difficult situation, because there's like 95% of Russian speakers.
Yeah.
So they don't have anybody to communicate with in Estonian language. But in Estonia, you kind of should be open-minded by yourself. When people ask that where shall I practice my Estonian language, I would say that just go across the street. There is a kaubamaja, and go inside, and there is plenty of people who would speak with you in one or other subject in Estonian language. I think that this keeping your mind open, listening to the music, listening to the radio, watching the television, and not with English kind of language on top, but listening the Estonian language. I can understand that it might be challenging, because Estonian language, the logic is a little bit different from English one, for example. But our mind, our brain is working so that if you are listening enough to this language, that at some point, even if you are not making any efforts, it will start to understand.
Yeah.
So
I completely agree. Motivation plays a big role in anything we do, and I'm sure people who will watch this episode, and whoever are motivated enough, they will, I think, understand this. They will obviously reach out to you as well, but at the same time, even if they're reaching out to you, they know they have to work hard to even complete this program, because you can only play from one side. They have to play from the other side to make sure that it's a successful thing. But thank you very much for sharing all this information. It was really helpful, and I hope along with me there would be some other expats in Tallinn who would reach out to your counselors and get in the programs enrolled in next year. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you very much.